Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, we are honored to have the Speaker of the Nevada Assembly, Steve Yeager, in the first of a two-part interview here on Nevada Newsmakers.
When in Carson City, Nevada Newsmakers records in the conference room of the Nevada Builders Alliance. Coverage of the 2025 legislative session is brought to you by Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. NV Energy, proudly serving Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers. The Retail Association of Nevada, looking out for business. And by Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
What is that?
That's the governor's funding bill for education.
It looks pretty flat. Wasn't there a plan to increase funding for our schools?
Yeah, but the governor's ignoring it.
We have to pass the plan.
Your good times are at Tamarack Casino during the $150,000 Denim and Diamonds giveaways with cash and free play drawings every Thursday and Saturday, and $30,000 in grand finale giveaways Saturday, May 31st, including a top prize of $20,000 guaranteed. Your good times are at Tamarack Casino.
Meet Nevada Health Link, Nevada's official health insurance marketplace. Your link to savings, selection, free assistance, and name brand health insurance, where 90% of enrollees lower the cost of their monthly premium. Everyone deserves access to quality health coverage, no matter your income or family size. Visit NevadaHealthLink.com. A few minutes could save you hundreds of dollars per month.
Nevada Health Link. Our plans are made for your plans.
I teach math every day, and something isn't adding up here. $1.65 billion for Hollywood and $380 million for a baseball team.
And let me guess, our students are only getting like $2.
That's correct.
Wow, they should pass the plan.
Yes, pass the plan.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from Carson City, here from the home of the Nevada Builders Alliance. We are delighted to welcome back to the program the Speaker of the Nevada Assembly, Steve Yeager. And you've offered to do two programs with us, and we are thrilled about that. And they will both be posted immediately on the website as soon as we can get them up there.
Well, it's always good to be here with you this morning, Sam, and I'm excited about the conversation.
Well, thank you. The first thing is not so exciting, which is that tomorrow, as we are taping this, will be May 1st, and you'll get the numbers from the Economic Forum. How much of a concern do you have? Do you have any heads up on what the numbers might be?
Well, about a month and a half ago, I wasn't that concerned. What I was hearing was the revenue would be flat, which basically means the projections would be the same as they were in December. As of about a month ago, I've circled this date on my calendar, and there's been a lot of dread as we get towards this date. I think we are going to have less revenue. I think the reason that's changed is, no surprise to you or anybody else. What's going on in the world economically, what's happening here in the United States with the economic uncertainty is really causing problems, particularly in Las Vegas. Visitorship is down, room rates are down, gaming is down, sales tax is down, and that really is the bread and butter of our economy. So I don't know how bad it's going to be. I'm bracing for it to be as bad as $500 million less over the biennium. I'm crossing both of my fingers that it doesn't get that bad, and certainly crossing my fingers that it's not worse than that, because that's a lot of money to have to try to find and cut from the budget.
And does that include potential cuts to Medicaid?
This does not. So what the Economic Forum does is really it's a snapshot in time. So they're looking like as of really probably a few days ago, what do we think it's going to look like in the future? But they don't really have a way of taking into account what's going to happen with the federal government. And for your listeners, they may know that the federal government's still figuring out their budget. They have a continuing resolution, which basically means they're still trying to figure it out. So they're probably not going to get their budget figured out until September, October. They do want to find an absurd amount of money to cut from the budget, and I think the only place they can do that is Medicaid. But for our purposes in the state, I don't think the Economic Forum is really looking at that. They're looking at the state revenues that come in to the state, and then we're going to build the budget on that. So I think we're going to get bad news again later on in the year, but it's hard for them to predict that because, if you can predict what Congress is going to do in the next 8 or 9 months, all the power to you, and you should play the Powerball.
Yes, indeed. One of the numbers that we've seen are down are the baccarat numbers. And I'm always, and I say this lightly, but I'm almost amused when state budgets are built with baccarat numbers in mind because they can swing so wildly. You can either get huge numbers up or huge numbers down. But also, we have gone through so many record months since COVID with the gaming industry that the numbers really are not as bad as they appear. And in fact, some of the numbers, like slot numbers, are actually up.
Yeah, I think Baccarat's interesting too because we didn't mention one of the impacts on Nevada and Las Vegas in particular is international tourism. International tourism is down. Unfortunately, I think our president and the administration has found a way to alienate the United States from the rest of the world, and that is causing problems with visitorship. So a lot of the Baccarat that's played is from foreign visitors who love that game. So there's not as much action at that table. As you've seen in the press, somehow the president has stuck his finger in the eye of both Canada and Mexico, and those are our two neighbors and provide a lot of visitation. But I think what we saw during COVID is just there was so much more money in the economy. And remember, we had that lockdown period where people couldn't come here, so there was a real pent-up demand to come, and so we saw those numbers really spike after COVID. Obviously, that COVID money's not there anymore, and I think because of the economic uncertainty, not as many people are coming to Las Vegas or just not sure what the future holds, so they're not going to come and spend the money, but we need them to keep coming here. So thank God for, like Allegiant Stadium hosting WrestleMania and those kind of big events that are still bringing people here, but across the board, we're down, including on conventions.
Beyonce sold out her 2 concerts at Allegiant Stadium in like minutes.
She did.
So the fact that the gaming industry has pivoted so much over the last decade to entertainment and sports, that does give us, some hope that all these events will be able to keep boosting those numbers.
Yeah, and I was not in the legislature when Allegiant Stadium was approved, when that deal was approved, but I think it's really worked. I mean, we're getting events there that we never would have gotten before. The Super Bowl was just crazy, and I don't remember if I told you, but I was actually at WrestleMania like a week and a half ago, and it was insane. I mean, 2 days of sellouts at Allegiant Stadium, a day on the front and the back at T-Mobile, so it's really a 4-day event, all sellouts, people spending a lot of money, buying a lot of drinks, buying a lot of merchandise, buying a lot of food. We would not have gotten those events without Allegiant. So I think that really was smart of the state to do. And it's a recognition from the gaming industry that not as many people are interested in just sitting at a slot machine and doing that. Like, the entertainment world is so much more broad now. So I think that was a good thing for us, and we just need to keep making sure we have those events happen at Allegiant and T-Mobile.
One of the things that still surprises me, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, is the fact that esports has still not taken off in a big way when there are tens of millions of people around the world who would be thrilled not only to watch this online, but to come to Las Vegas. Former State Senator Ben Kiekeffer said on this program a couple of years ago that if you were to have an event at Allegiant Stadium, it would also sell out every convention center around Allegiant Stadium. That's how big it would be.
Yeah, I mean, esports was, I think, there was a big promise around that, and it just hasn't really panned out. I'm not sure why. Part of it might be just the online experience, right? I mean, you can actually participate in esports and do a lot of esports activity from the comfort of your home in front of your computer. So I think there is a challenge in getting people to come to a location when that's not really how esports is set up. It's more sort of diffuse, but I think we have to keep trying because you're right. If we could get all those people here at Allegiant or some other arena to participate, that would be huge for the state. And if they've never been to Nevada or Las Vegas, that's a good introduction.
When John Esquaga passed, the owner of John Esquaga's Nugget, Phil Satry was on this program, who's now the chair of WIN. And he bemoaned the fact that we don't have the creative people in the gaming industry like John Esquaga, who started things like the Rib Cook-Off and oyster bars and things like that nobody else had done, had an elephant as part of the entertainment. And he said that's really what the gaming industry needs, is more people like John Esquaga. And I think that goes back to the esports thing, that they're money people. They don't really see the potential of what that.
Right.
Let's take a break. So much more to talk to you about, and I really thank you for taking so much time with me this morning. We'll be right back after this.
A power line is more than a power line. It's maintaining the bottom line for small businesses. It's keeping the assembly line moving for our workforce. For our brightest minds, it's meeting a deadline. It's on the front line with our heroes and on the sidelines of the biggest games. It's a direct line to our loved ones. And it's a lifeline for the most vulnerable. There's a lot on the line.
We don't have a choice where we go to school, even if it's unsafe or we're being bullied. It's not fair. Every family should be able to choose the school that is best for us, not just the families who have a lot of money. Governor Lombardo wants to give every kid and every family the ability to go to a school where we can learn and where we're safe. He's fighting for us. Thank you, Governor Lombardo.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Steve Yeager. He is the Speaker of the Nevada Assembly. Let's talk about the dueling movie studio bills. Is there discussion at this point between pairing the one from the Senate and the one from the Assembly together in some fashion? And, you know, right now it seems like there's a huge push for the one at UNLV. At the same time, there's a push for the one that is over in Summerlin. So where do you think this is going at this point? And last time you were here, you had doubts.
Yeah, so two different bills, one in the Assembly, one in the Senate, and because both of them have money attached to them.
Huge money.
They haven't crossed over to the other house. They're stuck in the money committees right now. Realistically, I don't think there's really a way to put those two bills together. You know, each one has sort of its own merits, and each one has a big price tag into the future. We weren't able to put them together last session, so I think they're going to have to be evaluated on their own merits. I'm more familiar with the one in the Assembly, and that's the one that involves Sony and Howard Hughes, just because I sat in the committee that heard the bill. I don't know. I think the Senate one has changed a little bit. It seems to be less about movies and more about something else.
Well, they're expanding, you know, the whole view to incorporate UNLV and a lot of creation for students and businesses beyond just the movie studios.
Yeah, I mean, whether we pass either one of those, like, that has to be part of the conversation, right? It can't just be come do movies here. It has to be building a pipeline of folks here in the state who can actually work in that industry. I mean, what I don't want to do is bring an industry here and then we're basically importing the workers on a short-term basis and they're going back to wherever they come from. So I think that's important actually to both the sponsors to say, if we're going to do this, it can't just become film. Like, we need to build a pipeline here so that Nevadans can take these jobs and that there are more opportunities, because we just talked about how gaming revenue is down. And every single cycle that we go into a downturn, we talk about needing to diversify the economy. I mean, we've been talking about it forever, right? And I think there are opportunities with these bills to do that, but it has to be done in the right way. So, you know, whether either of those bills advance, I think it's going to depend a lot on what happens tomorrow with the Economic Forum. And then the analysis for me, and I think for all my colleagues, is, you know, does it make sense in the long run to do it? Because there is a price tag associated with it.
A huge price tag.
It doesn't cost anything in the next 2 years. The next 2 years is when the investment would be made by the studios, and, you know, that means jobs, a lot of construction jobs. That's a good thing. But after that 2-year period, the tax credits kick in. And so, you know, you've got to be able to look, does that make sense? I'm not anti-tax credits, but they really have to make sense for the state, and you've got to be able to tell your constituents, this makes sense for us to invest in the long run, and here's why. So I know we only have a month to go in session, but I think both those bills have a lot of hurdles to still climb, and I don't see a scenario where we could pass both of them.
Yeah, for sure. McKenna Ross, writing for the Review-Journal, did a deep dive into what I'd been hoping. I was hoping that Tyler Perry would come here and address the legislature.
Me too.
Because he's so responsible in Georgia for their incredible film studio work, although he has just pulled the plug on a lot of work that they were going to do there. But what McKenna found was that the state of Georgia really doesn't make that much money out of this.
Yeah, that's definitely true. There was a study done in Georgia, and they showed for the actual tax credit, for every dollar in tax credit, they get something, I don't know what it was, 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar back. It would be the same here, and I'll give the studios credit. They haven't come to us and said, hey, if you invest this money, we're going to return tenfold in direct economic impact. They've never said that because I think the numbers don't bear it out. But the question is, what is the value of everything around the studio, right? What is the value of the jobs that you're creating? What is the value of the pipeline for folks to be in the movie industry? And obviously, there are a lot of people be coming here to either film movies, you got the talent coming here, or hopefully folks would come and want to tour the studio like they do out in California. So the way they've made their case is to say you have to look at it holistically. And so I really respect that, because often we are sold, if you don't do this, you're idiots, and this tax credit pays for itself. They're not saying it pays for itself, but what they're saying is everything around it pencils out and makes sense. So I think that's the question we have to figure out. Do we believe that analysis, and is it worth the investment?
One of the things that had concerned me, and still does to an extent, is where are you going to house all these people? If you've got 28,000 people coming in an area that already doesn't have the housing, then at the same time you've got the memorandum of understanding the governor has put together with the BLM. What are your thoughts on that? And my understanding is that if you get a deal with the BLM, it's still going to take years for that to come to fruition, where you're actually going to see buildings coming out of the ground.
Yeah, it's why we've said all along that more land is not the answer. It is part of the answer, but to your point, it takes time, right? And when you think about where that land is in the state, if it's out in the suburbs, you're going to have infrastructure issues, you're going to have transportation issues. We really need to do a better job of infilling higher density developments in the urban core where people are working, where the transportation is. So
build vertically.
We have to build vertically, and I think it's a conversation that some folks aren't comfortable with, but you need density, and you need people to be close to transportation, to grocery stores, to their work. It doesn't help if they're out in the suburbs and they have no way to get to work, because public transportation in Las Vegas is not good. But land is a part of the equation. I mean, we should be asking for more land, but in the meanwhile, we actually have to get something built. And that's not going to happen with federal land, as you said, for years and years and years. So that's why we've talked to the governor about, look, we know what you're doing and we support that, but what are we going to do in the short term to build? And what are we going to do to protect tenants so they're not being evicted? What are we going to do to make sure that people aren't having to bear 30, 40% rent increases? So those are some of the conversations that are still ongoing. I mean, I think you have to look at it holistically as a package.
Okay, last time you were here, you said you had not had a chance yet to meet with the governor. You had met with staff and not the governor. Have you had a chance now to visit with the governor?
Yeah, so the Senate Majority Leader and I are having a 1-hour lunch meeting with the governor once a week, actually happening later today. So we've had about 3 of those now, and we're adding meetings on as we need. But I think it's been really productive just to sit down, have conversations. One of the challenges, only 2 of his bills are out. 2 of his big 5 bills are out because I think they keep asking the legislative lawyers to redo the bills to make sure they're perfect. So that's been a little challenging because you can't really have a conversation about something that's not out. But the lines of communication are open. Makes me feel hopeful that we can wrap up the session on time in early June. So they've been cordial conversations, and I think that's just important to get the ball rolling in terms of how are we going to get out of this session and what are the negotiation points.
Well, it's great to know that at least everybody's thinking about how we get out on time, because usually it's about a week out before people start having that conversation. Are you finding in that, and I'm so thrilled that the leader and yourself and the governor are meeting, are you finding there are more things to agree on than disagree on?
In some ways, the budget situation we're in has really sort of clarified what we can talk about.
You mean when there's no money?
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, last session we had a lot of money because we had a lot of that federal relief money, and so the conversations were like, what can we do with this huge pot of money? And there were just so many different ideas. I think we're all pretty clear-eyed that we're not in that financial situation. So almost anything that costs money is just going to be off the table. So we're able to have conversations about what's good policy. What can we put into place this session that doesn't cost money because the budget's already strained? And so in some ways that's taken a lot of stuff off of the table. But I feel like the conversations have been good. I mean, I think we have shared goals of making sure we improve public education, making sure healthcare is better in the state, and then figuring out the budget. That's a huge lift. Remember, we came into the session with like a $300 million budget deficit. We haven't gotten to the point where we figured that out yet, and that doesn't take into account what's going to happen at the economic forum. So, I think we're all realistic about we're going to have to just do what we can do and make sure the state can continue to function.
As far as education goes, everybody wants to see results. But in reality, 2 years is not that much time to see the amount of money that was put in by the state to see results. What are you discussing with the governor in terms of, what the goal should be, and is there any additional money that you're looking at to be able to put towards education this time around?
Yeah, those are some of the conversations we're having, right? I know the governor's education bill isn't out yet. I think the Senate Majority Leader's bill is out now, but there are additional accountability measures there. But what I've been talking about is we've got to give it a little bit of time. You can't just flip the switch and next year the results go through the roof. It requires sustained investment. So I've been advocating for a more sort of measured approach of accountability. In terms of money, I mean, the big thing this session is making sure we have in the budget to continue those teacher raises, the $250 million for teacher pay raises. I have a bill, Assembly Bill 398, that would look at trying to give additional money for hard-to-fill positions in Title I schools or special education. We've got to find the money for that. That's going to be a challenge. But, I think given what we did last session, I'd love to come back and say we have another $2 or $3 billion to put in education. We just don't have it. So I think we're trying to do the best with what we have. I do think the money's made a difference. Teacher vacancy rate's down. Teachers got about a 20% pay raise. And having a qualified teacher in the classroom is really the best way for a child to succeed. And so we've got to solve that problem.
Okay, and what is the response to this point in the discussion from the teachers' unions?
Well, I think, I think they would love to have more funding, right?
But the number is always another $1 billion would be helpful.
Right. The conversations have been good. I think they're realistic too. They've been through boom and bust budget cycles. So, they're making sure that the programs that are important to them are staying there. And I think the teacher pay raises in particular, I mean, everybody fought really hard for those, and we don't want to pull the rug out from under them. So, they've been fairly supportive in what we're doing and been realistic about the situation we're in.
And we'll be right back.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Welcome to Story County, where history meets innovation and a pioneering spirit continues to shape our future. At the heart of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we power the future with global leaders in technology and manufacturing, driving progress that reaches far beyond our county lines. From advanced manufacturing to tech innovation, our industries are creating thousands of quality careers, fueling a vibrant economy that benefits every Nevadan. Our community is our foundation. Be part of a legacy built on bold ideas and boundless possibilities. Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
All hail the $200,000 Cash is King giveaways at Carson Valley Inn. Weekly prize drawings including thousands in cash and free play. And 2 big grand prize giveaway events, each with a $15,000 cash winner guaranteed. Only at the Carson Valley Inn.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And we're back with the Speaker of the Nevada Assembly, Steve Yeager. Story County has got a bill that survived, which was a surprise to some people and pleasing to others. To have more discussion involved between cities and counties when these massive projects come in, like the movie studios or a Tesla. Tesla did contribute to Story County to help, but they're saying, it should go statewide. What's your thoughts on that?
Always good to have discussions, and I think a lot was, again, I was not there during Tesla, but I think we've learned a lot from that, right? Because what you had was that project, where it is out in Story County, but there was a huge impact on Washoe County and Reno, because to your point about the studios earlier, so you have to live somewhere. So housing prices went up, the infrastructure wasn't there, and I think anytime you can get folks together to talk about things, well, your question was a good one, where are we going to house people for the movie studios? I don't know that that's a question that people have asked, so I think that's the least we can do with impacted communities, is bring them together and figure out, can we make this better? How do we mitigate the impacts? Or how do we plan for what we think the impacts will be? I think so often as a legislature, we just sort of pass a bill and we say, well, we'll figure it out later, but we should be forward-looking in that way.
Does it surprise you that the Las Vegas Global Economic Organization was against Story County's bill, saying, we should work this out after these, big bills are put through? It seems like, if you're talking fire and police and things like that, that these should absolutely be a part of the conversation. You shouldn't just rely on the goodwill of a company coming in.
Well,
I look at Faraday Future and go, well, not every company comes in legit.
I've been in the legislature long enough to really never be surprised by anything these days, but I think their goal really is to bring business and new industries into the state, and so perhaps they see that as an obstacle, which, I guess there's a way that you can understand that opposition. But I also think they've got to understand, as Nevadans, you got to figure these things out. So I didn't watch that hearing, so I don't know really what the basis of their opposition was, but it seems a little unusual to me.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to do a part 2 with you. And again, I thank you so much for taking out so much time at this point in the session.
Yeah.
We'll be right back with the Speaker of the Nevada Assembly after this timeout.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Welcome to the Ahern Boutique Hotel, where luxury and warmth come together in the heart of Las Vegas.
We take pride in offering a one-of-a-kind experience for both locals and tourists.
Join us for handcrafted cocktails and an unforgettable experience.
Joel's Chop House, the perfect place to savor views of the Las Vegas Strip.
Satisfy your cravings at the Ahern Chocolate Shop.
No smoking, no resort fees, and the parking is always free. The Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel is your home away from home.
The trucking industry is the most resilient link in the supply chain, moving 95% of our freight in the Silver State. And while essential, the road isn't always smooth. Supply chain disruptions, rising fuel costs, and unrealistic rules and laws that hamper our ability to serve our customers and country. Our prosperity and every sector of the economy, manufacturing, mining, medicine, and food from farm to table, is tied to trucks. There's nothing without trucking.
It happens, and when it does, there's UMC Quick Care.
When in Carson City, Nevada Newsmakers records in the conference room of the Nevada Builders Alliance. Coverage of the 2025 legislative session is brought to you by Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. NV Energy, proudly serving Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers. The Retail Association of Nevada, looking out for business. And by Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers, come to you from Carson City, from the headquarters of the Nevada Builders Alliance. We'll see you on the next broadcast. Thanks for watching.